Welcome back, guys. Real Men, Real Sports here. Real OG Skates and the Goose. We're here today to talk NFL running backs heading into the fantasy season. We're going to go over a couple things. Some real simple lists for you. We're going to go over running backs to own, the ones we feel like you should go get. And then we'll kind of have some more lists and some comparisons at the very end on some of the big names in the NFL.
I think we're trying to steer away from running back rankings because realistically you can go out there and just Google rankings, have your consensus rankings, but we really want to just talk about running backs we think you should own, running backs you should steer away from, and then we're going to do some comparisons between some two running backs that you may be able to get later in the rounds.
So to start us all off, we're going to go over our running backs to own. We kind of have three set in stone that we both agree on. They're going to be your major ones, guys. You're going to see at the top of all the rankings, starting out with, of course, AD all day, Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson. I've owned him probably about 3 of the last 2 seasons. Somehow I always get him. I think last year I got him in with the 3rd pick. I think realistically he's going to be probably in your top 5 in everybody's draft. Would you agree?
I do. I think he's the safest running back you can get. If you want to go get that guy that's going to produce for you week in, week out, he might have a slow game here and there, but his slow games are usually 8 to 10 points.
And he's definitely the I guess you could say the model of consistency.
Yeah.
I mean, do you really want to put faith? I mean, you can't say I'm not going to put faith in Todd Gurley, but you will put faith in him. But he's not. You can't say he's the model of consistency just yet.
Just yet, yeah, definitely. Todd Gurley had an amazing season last year, but definitely you want to play it safe. You want that go-to guy. If he's there on the board in the first round, I mean, you're snagging Adrian Peterson. If you're lucky enough where Antonio Brown goes number 1, maybe Julio Jones goes number 2, maybe someone in your league takes a quarterback. If you can grab Adrian Peterson in the top 5 or even in the first round at all.
If somebody takes a quarterback, they're stupid.
Don't say that. But I mean, a lot of people might have Todd Gurley ranked higher than Adrian Peterson because of his upside and his youth. And
a full season?
And a full season. So, I mean, but if you can grab Adrian Peterson in the first round, guys, I mean, I'm big on taking receivers in the first round. I would probably grab Adrian Peterson this year in the first round. I think that offense is going to be built for him. I think it's going to be another year where they're going to really just hand him the ball off. And I think they're finding that nice balance between Teddy Bridgewater becoming comfortable throwing the ball and getting Adrian Peterson his touches.
What I find interesting is this year it doesn't seem like in the past there was always consensus number 1. Everyone was drafting Peterson. Foster, I remember for 2 years it was just everybody was drafting Foster. And I feel like this year there's if you have the number 1 overall pick, whether you go with Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, Peterson, Antonio Brown, I don't think it's a bad pick. So
if you have a top 5 pick in fantasy this year, you're getting a very consistent player. Yeah. I mean, you can pretty much guarantee that minus a crazy injury, you're walking out with someone who's going to lead your fantasy squad for that whole season.
But I think the hardest thing is just you can't predict an injury. It's not like you can go on injury forecast for the week and it's like, oh, there's a chance that Doug Martin gets hurt this week. You can't predict that. So I feel like with the running back position, the reason I'm always big and heavy on running back is because later down when it comes to bye weeks, it's nice to have some valuable players you can fill in when you have your Petersons on bye week.
Definitely. I think getting back to Adrian Peterson, the guy stays in remarkable shape. I mean, he's always in football shape. You see him in the offseason, you see him, walking around.
He's a scary-looking dude.
He is a big, strong, fit man. And ever since that injury he had where he tore his ACL, I mean, he has gotten bigger and stronger each year since then. So he is one of the safest running backs you can go get, which is why, again, he's number 1 on our list.
If you had to say some of the concerns, though, with Adrian Peterson, someone's asks you, oh, should I take Adrian Peterson number 1?
My only concerns with Adrian Peterson are play calling, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I know that on your list you've got fumbling.
Yeah, I have some. I mean, it's not something you can predict, but see, he had 6 fumbles last year. There was games where it's like they're making a nice drive up the field and he fumbles, and those points cost me. There was a game where I lost by 1 point.
He can be a little overconfident. Sometimes you see your Adrian Peterson poster or trading card, and I mean he's running with the ball way away from his body. He has a lot of confidence in his strength and his ball carrying ability, and sometimes that can be his fault. Also, too, I remember we talked about it earlier today, running out of the shotgun, not something he's 100% comfortable with. I think he likes to get that ball and already be full steam ahead. He's not really a big fan of the delayed handoffs, your draw plays. So I think another offseason comfortable in that offense will help his fumbles. but he does need to kind of buckle down and keep that ball close to his body, put 2 hands on the ball when he's coming into contact, and I think that will help. He's just so used to using his agility to get away from defense that sometimes that is what forces the ball.
So if you limit, you limit running out of the shotgun, maybe run more of a single back sets. I think last year they opened him up to the short pass game.
Definitely.
And that's something that I like out of a running back. And that offense is going to be designed off of, dump the ball off to Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, because they're definitely not built for the deep ball.
Yeah.
The Vikings offense is definitely not built for the deep ball. They
Yeah,
have some good they have some good young receivers, but I mean, you don't have that consistent down the field threat. You don't have your AJ Green, you don't have your Julio Jones, that guy who can streak down the field and catch that jump ball. Like, you just don't have that in the Vikings offense right now. So I think that having that dump off, having someone who can run some wheel routes and drag routes, it's only going to help Adrian Peterson's fantasy value. It's only going to help the Vikings offense.
And if you want to get a player this year, and it's going to be Peterson, it's probably it might be his last good season.
Could be.
Could you say that?
I mean, I wouldn't say that because he's a beast. I mean, he could be one of those freaks of nature like Tom Brady who just plays well into his late 30s. I mean, you just never know with these guys. And he keeps himself in phenomenal shape. He's only had one major injury. But I would say, Adrian Peterson, he's built to succeed. He does not have a viable backup, so no one's cutting into his carries, which is a huge thing in fantasy. Everyone's running 2 back sets, 3 back sets, change of pace backs, scat backs. There's nobody in that offense that even compares to the rush Adrian Peterson puts out.
No running back by committee.
Yeah, Matt
Stay away from that.
Is very inconsistent. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just there's no one there to take away from AP. So he is our unified number 1 pick. Before we take too long on Adrian Peterson, because I want to have a whole video on Adrian Peterson. Let's move on to Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley is our number 2 guy. I think you can't go wrong with Todd Gurley, man. I mean, the kid...
What's there not to like about Todd Gurley?
Yeah, he was built for the NFL. I mean, the Rams took him with their first-round pick. They had Trey Mason, who didn't play horribly the year before, but you can't pass.
I didn't own him in any of my leagues last year.
A lot of people slept on Todd Gurley because he was hurt in the beginning of the season. So people were not reaching for Todd Gurley because they're like, he's a rookie. Yeah, he played 1 college, but how many people play 1 college and they do nothing in the NFL?
And I think the thing we've learned is now with all these running backs coming back from ACL injuries, everyone wants to prove themselves like Adrian Peterson. Mm-hmm. I tore my ACL.
And he's the only one
much
to do
bigger,
it.
Much better.
He's the only one to do it. Him and honestly Todd Gurley now is the only one to do it too. I mean, you got guys like Jamal Charles who come back from that injury and they get hurt again, and they get hurt again, and they get hurt again. So I think Todd Gurley, you love the youth. You love the build. You love the speed. You love the way he runs the football. I mean, you watch his highlights and he just takes it right down the mouth of that defense and just goes. I mean, he's that 1 move, 1 cut, great vision, and he's off to the races.
And I think the question I see a lot is, how far will he carry your team?
I think he can carry you all. I think he can be the number 1 back in the NFL. I mean, he really can. He can lead the league in yardage. He can lead the league in touchdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, his hands are not that great for catching the ball, but I mean, I think he's that guy who's going to get you 30 carries a game consistently because the Rams have nobody else. They don't have.
He caught the ball last year.
He caught the ball a decent amount,
and he's only going to catch more next year. He's like the next coming of Le'Veon Bell, who who hasn't.
We'll see with Goff and how Goff transitions and how comfortable he is.
But
the dump off pass is not always the easiest pass to throw for a rookie quarterback.
And the thing is if we're going to say how much trust you put in Todd Gurley, I put a lot of trust in him. But the only reason I kind of save a little judgment is just, do you trust that offense? Like Jared Goff, might be. I think it's going to help that offense, but that offense has been very stagnant.
I think you can put all your trust in Todd Gurley.
So there's going to be stacked boxes.
But there were stacked boxes last year. Last year they had less of an offense. They had a worse quarterback, you could even argue, because they played 3 different quarterbacks last year. And you can make the argument that he completely dominated fantasy football, and they lost almost all of their games.
Yeah.
So, does it really matter if that offense is stacked? Is he that guy who you draft him anyway because he's going to get the carries, he's going to get his touchdowns, and he's just physically able to carry himself as a fantasy football player regardless of what the Rams do as an NFL team? And I think that's why he is our consensus number 2, because he has that ability to take over and get his regardless of whether the Rams win or lose or put up a lot of points or not.
And if you don't get Todd Gurley, maybe you draft an Antonio Brown, number 1 overall. Let's just say he slumps. Comes in first 4 weeks, he doesn't run the ball well. You got to try to trade him.
Yeah, definitely. I think Todd Gurley, he's definitely someone I can't see him being less than an RB1. I really can't.
He is an RB1.
Yeah, but I can't see
even
if he
make the
slumps
argument
a little bit in the beginning. I mean, if you can go out, like he said, go out and grab Todd Gurley from somebody who's losing faith in him early in the season, do it. Because, I mean, Todd Gurley is going to catch his rhythm.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. He's that type of running back where his physical ability will not keep him down for long. He's built for contact. He's built for yards after contact. I mean, it's just he's just a behemoth. He's a monster.
It's gonna be the Todd Gurley show.
I really do think it's gonna be Todd Gurley show in LA. So of course, like I said, we got Adrian Peterson, we got Todd Gurley. Those are the number 1 and 2 guys. I mean, kind of throughout all fantasy.
I know we said earlier that there's really not a consensus number 1 overall, but I would not be surprised if 70 to 80% of the drafts have Todd Gurley going number 1.
Yeah, I think you're gonna see in
whether
most,
it's PPR,
in most
whether
fantasy
it's
drafts,
standard.
you're gonna see Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson, and Antonio Brown. Those are going to be, one of those 3 is going to go number 1 in like 95% of fantasy leagues, minus those crazy leagues that do weird things. But one of those 3 will be the number 1 pick in almost every single draft. Going away from Todd Gurley a little bit, the last one I think we 100% agree on this list is David Johnson. David Johnson. Now, David Johnson was a waiver wire pickup in our league. Andre Ellington
I can't see him being drafted.
Andre Ellington was drafted. Chris Johnson was a waiver wire pickup, and Chris Johnson was leading the league in rushing for a good portion of last year, right there with Doug Martin. They were playing 1 and 2, 1 and 2, because that offense is built to run the football. I mean, that's an amazing offensive line. Carson Palmer is one of the best play-action quarterbacks in the NFL, so you always have to respect the run, but you always have to be scared of the pass. They got big, strong, fast receivers, and I think that when David Johnson came in and took over, he took over strong. I mean, he showed why they drafted him. He showed why he deserves to be the number 1 running back. And just in those games that he took over at the end of the season, he made himself the starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals.
I definitely like David Johnson, but I think he's one of those players where it's, he's in my top 5 myself. But, if I'm sitting there with a 3rd pick and someone went Antonio Brown, Adrian Peterson, I probably would take him, but the hardest thing is to go by is like with Devontae Freeman. He's in most top 10s this year, but part of the season was just based off of 4 games where he had huge games. Can you expect him to reproduce that?
I think that in the games that he doesn't reproduce the huge games, he's still going to be a consistent 15-point running back in standard leagues. I think you can count on David Johnson for a touchdown and at least 75, 80 yards a game. I mean, he can catch the ball extremely well. He's fast, he's strong, and he runs with authority. I mean, he's not afraid of contact. I saw several games last year where he got hit and shrugged off the hit and was able to take it down the sidelines for a touchdown. And that's what you look for in a running back, someone durable, someone who can catch the football, run the football between the tackles and outside, and he can do all of those things. The only thing that scares me in that offense is Bruce Arians possibly splitting his carries between Chris Johnson because Chris Johnson is still a viable back, and he still has that change of pace back.
I like that you mentioned that because I was just thinking that he broke out because of that Chris Johnson injury.
Yeah, he broke out. Well, he really broke out because of both injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, Ellington got hurt, never really came back healthy, and then Chris Johnson got hurt, and so that whole running game, you can ask yourself, and this is the only fear is it the running back or is it the system? I think that he fits that system extremely well, but I do think that he is a viable option. I think if you're getting if you have the 5th, 6th, 7th pick in the first round, and you're Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson, Julio Jones, Antonio Brown are gone, I think he's a great pickup late in the first round. I think he's a great late first round pick. I think he'll give you really good production. Like I said, he can catch the ball, run the ball. He's goal line threat. I mean, the Cardinals
definitely kind of see him in that category where you're looking at him, or there's Le'Veon Bell there. Where's the higher risk?
Yeah, and the Cardinals were one of the top offensive teams in every category last year. So, I mean, they're scoring a lot of points. They're getting a lot of yards. They're, running it up.
It's a proven offense.
Proven offense, proven system, proven coach, proven quarterback. Why not go with the guy who's going to take advantage of all that?
So let me ask you, we talked about Jared Goff being a new quarterback coming into the league. If you had to choose Todd Gurley or David Johnson, who do you take?
If I'm choosing Todd Gurley or David Johnson, I'm choosing Todd Gurley. I really am. And only because the carries. You cannot argue with a running back who's going to get 30 carries a game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember when I'm a Titans fan, when Chris Johnson broke 2,000 yards, he was getting an average of like 28 to 32 carries a game. I mean, you cannot argue with those kind of carries. Eventually, with your skill and speed, you're going to break one, and you're going to take one to the house. It's going to happen. So I like those odds versus a team that throws the ball a lot and a team that could possibly split into his carries with other running backs. Whereas I'm not stressing about Trey Mason. I'm not stressing about Benny Cunningham. None of those guys worry me. It's the Todd Gurley show.
Trey Mason.
Yeah, it's the Todd Gurley show, 100%. Let's go. Give him the ball. Let's put some points on that board.
Yeah. But you can't go wrong with either.
You can't go wrong with either. If you can get Todd Gurley, get Todd Gurley. If you can't, David Johnson is a viable option.
Follow your heart.
Exactly. So next we're going to go into, I think we each have one. We each have one that we don't agree on.
Let's do this.
For me, it's Ezekiel Elliott. I think Ezekiel Elliott is a guy to own. I mean, I know he's a rookie. I know that's scary. I know, but I mean, could he be in a more perfect offense?
How many Cowboys fans have we run into when we go get some food? He's like, "Oh, you're a
We
Titans
just went to
fan?"
Wingstop, and I was wearing my Titans jersey, and I ran into a Cowboy fan. Now, I'm not a Cowboy hater. I'm not. I like Romo. I'm one of the few that gives Romo his credit for being an elite quarterback. I'm one of the few that likes Des Bryant. I like the Cowboys. I don't hate the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboys, but I don't hate the Cowboys. I respect the Cowboys.
They're like, eh.
But I will say that there was no better offense for Ezekiel Elliott to join than the Dallas Cowboys. Maybe if the Steelers drafted him, he could have been the next Le'Veon Bell. But he has that ability. I mean, he's fast, he's agile, he's elusive. He can catch the ball, and he runs routes great. I mean, he proved that in college. I mean,
Does he have an injury bug?
I don't think so. No, I don't think. I think that he is a young, strong running back who's going to do big things. And I think that, again, there's no competition there. Darren McFadden is banged up again before the season even starts. So he's running with the number ones. He's taking, handoffs from Romo. He's out there running around with Des Bryant. I mean, the guy is already in with some of the best to play the game right now. I mean, he's in with one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's in with one of the best receivers in the league, one of the best tight ends in the league, and he runs behind arguably the best offensive line in the NFL.
Well, we all know that.
So the system is there. The playbook is there. The skill set is there. Where can you go wrong?
The only thing that's not there is proven productivity.
Exactly.
In the NFL. I mean, yeah, we've seen it in college.
Yeah.
But
I think that there's a chance we could run into one of those situations where he's going to be a bust, but the odds are so slim. I mean, if you look at the last couple running back busts, your Trent Richardsons and things like that, those running backs ran a very simplistic system in college. Elliott didn't. Elliott, he caught the ball, he ran the ball, he ran, outside, inside. He was all over the place.
Yeah.
He ran for a gang of yards, a gang of touchdowns. I mean, the only one who was even close to him was Derrick Henry.
Yeah. He's built like a man. I mean, he's
built to play this game.
He's a monstrous running back. So
he is. So I think that for me, he's that guy to own that maybe you go get in the first round, late in the first round, early second round, that people are thinking they can get in the later rounds.
If he falls in the second round, I'm snagging him.
Yeah,
I think if I have like number 8 and all the top running backs are gone, I think and you see Jamal Charles there, which some people are getting him in the first and the second. I think right there is when I'm like, you know what? Let me put my season on the line and go with high upside of a rookie.
And that's my thing. He is definitely my upside pick. I mean, when you're talking about a Lamar Miller, a Doug Martin, a Jamal Charles, I mean, these guys, yeah, they did some great things last year, but I'm going with that upside. I'm going with that, the guy who wants to show the world why he was drafted number 4 overall in the draft. I'm taking the guy who's got a system that's built for him, because all those other teams are still trying to figure out their offensive systems. The Buccaneers, Doug Martin had a great year last year, but that's because they couldn't really rely on Jameis Winston. They weren't allowing Jameis Winston to do the things that he is able to do.
Right.
How much of that's going to take away from Doug Martin when Jameis Winston has the ability to make those adjustments in the huddle or at the line? We don't know. Yeah. Doug Martin.
Oh, Doug Martin.
Yeah.
I thought you were still talking about Ezekiel Elliott.
No. Lamar Miller, new offense, new team, new offensive line, new quarterback. I mean, we have no idea how productive Lamar Miller is.
So basically, when it comes to running backs, is risk. Upside.
So for me, I'm taking the upside and what I've seen in highlight film over some question marks. There's no question marks on that Dallas Cowboy team. If Romo goes down, that could be a boost for Ezekiel Elliott's production.
Well, they're going to give him the ball.
You know what I mean? He's going to get the ball regardless. They're a running team they're built to run. They've got a great offensive line. I mean, that team is going to run the football, and Ezekiel Elliott's going to be the one doing it. So for me, he's a must.
Why would you draft him that high if you're not going to utilize him?
Exactly.
So
he's a must-own for me. Now I'll let
my guy is Le'Veon Bell because it's probably going to be the hottest topic of the rest of this offseason when it comes to training camp is how healthy is he? I mean, I like Le'Veon Bell because he's proven to be a very effective multi-dimensional running back. He can run the ball. He can carry the ball to the outside. He can pass. He can run off the pass. I mean, if he can stay healthy, he's a top 3 back for me. And I know for you, it's not. I mean,
I have no faith.
I can see you being the guy who drafts Ezekiel Elliott over Le'Veon Bell. And I don't think that's a bad move. I really don't. But I can also see you drafting him over Adrian Peterson for some reason.
No,
you wouldn't go that far?
No, I wouldn't go that far. Mine go in order. I mean, if AP, Gurley, and Johnson are gone, then I'm taking Elliott. But I'm not taking Ezekiel Elliott over those guys. I mean, I want the production I saw last year from those guys was consistent, and they still didn't even hit their upside. I still think Adrian Peterson can break 2,000 yards. I think Todd Gurley can break 2,000 yards. I think David Johnson can run for 1,800 yards.
Yeah.
So, but Le'Veon Bell, guys. Okay, so I am not a Le'Veon Bell hater as a player. But when it comes to fantasy, people give Le'Veon Bell a lot of credit, and he had that one great season when he lost all the weight and he came out and he balled out for Pittsburgh. But since then, Le'Veon Bell has been consistent, hit by the injury bug. This year, he's coming off an MCL tear and a PCL tear. That's major, guys. I mean, that's
ligaments.
Those are major ligament tears. He's still not fully 100%. He's doing some drills, some solo drills, some running, some cutting on the sidelines, but he's not running with the team. He's, we'll see what he looks like.
Still really early though.
We'll see what he looks like in training camp. But my concern is, do you spend a first-round pick on a guy that has gotten hurt the last 2 years? And for me, that's a no. I mean, my first-round pick, second-round pick, need to be guys that are going to be there for me because I'm spending a lot of value. I mean, when you put him up there with, if you look at the guys who were there in the second round, the guys who were getting taken, your Odell Beckham Jr.'s, your Julio Jones.
Second round?
First and second round. Okay. Your Julio Jones, your Rob Gronkowski's, Adrian Peterson, Todd Gurley. These are players that are consistently getting you 15 to 20 points on average throughout the season.
But what I'm trying to go with is, kind of relating back to this, you would hands down take Ezekiel Elliott over Le'Veon Bell. But
because
if we're going based on upside, there's a lot of upside because Le'Veon Bell has so much chemistry within that offense. He's familiar with the offense.
Okay, so let's compare Le'Veon Bell.
You can't just say, it's a great offensive line. That automatically means he's going to
No. I mean, but look at Darren McFadden. Darren McFadden didn't do anything in Oakland his last couple of years.
That's Darren McFadden.
And he balled out in Dallas. He had one of his best.
Balled out.
He had one of his best career years. He averaged the most yards per carry.
We need to define what balled out means.
Oh, dude, I mean, realistically, Darren McFadden, he had multiple 100-yard games, multiple touchdown games. I mean, Darren McFadden had an amazing season for Dallas, and he's not. I mean, he's old, he's worn down.
I guess I'm just a Darren McFadden hater because I can't put balled out on Darren McFadden.
Well, here's my point though. If I'm comparing Ezekiel Elliott and Le'Veon Bell, I'm looking. They both have the same upside to me. One of them has more chemistry because he's been there doing the same thing with the same team, but the other one is 21 years old with no injury concerns. To me,
we'll take away the injury. I mean, I know that's not going to happen. But you take away Le'Veon Bell's injury.
Okay.
So would you take him over Ezekiel Elliott if you take away the injury?
No, but here's why. Okay, so I'm starting here.
Still?
Yes. Okay, so I'm starting here. They have the same upside. One has chemistry. One has youth. That puts them even again. What takes Ezekiel over the top for me is the Cowboys' offensive line and their playbook.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike Tomlin loves to throw the football because Ben Roethlisberger is great at throwing the football. He's got massive weapons. They run wide receiver screens. They run a lot of, short routes, long routes. I mean, they love their receivers. That's why Antonio Brown's such a hot commodity. When you look at Dallas, they love running the football. And so they're built for it.
We need to make a bet.
Oh, I'm totally down to make a bet.
Overall offensive stats.
Overall, between the two teams?
Between Steelers and the Cowboys.
I think we should do Ezekiel Elliott versus Le'Veon Bell.
I say offense. Or both.
I say Ezekiel.
Because you just said.
True, but I'm saying
you just said.
But you're saying Le'Veon Bell. We should go Elliott versus Le'Veon Bell overall production. Total yards and touchdowns. Write it down.
Le'Veon Bell. I think we should determine that on
What
our
are the
next-
terms? Right here on YouTube. Right here.
You make the terms. Because I'm taking Le'Veon Bell regardless of the terms.
I say a hat of their choice.
Okay.
Loser buys a winner a hat of their choice.
All right, but none of those
Nothing
$60.
over $50.
Okay, deal.
All right. You heard it first here, YouTube. All our subscribers. Nothing over $50.
So wait, is it
Random hat.
overall better season? Just overall?
Yeah, we're total yards and touchdowns.
Total yards and touchdowns. Let's do it.
All right. So moving on, guys. Those are our our running backs to own. AP, Todd Gurley, David Johnson. Consensus between the two of us. Get those guys if they're there.
And if you can give us some love, please follow, share, comment, especially with the bet we just made. Whose side are you on?
We'll be touching this during the season too. We'll be doing some bragging.
Oh, you bet we will.
And some trash talk.
You better expect
it. Better expect it. Definitely on my side, Ezekiel Elliott, grab him. His side, Le'Veon Bell, if he's there, grab him.
It'll be funny if I draft Ezekiel Elliott.
It'd be hilarious. We're going to go into our next group now, guys. So sideways from the guys that you should grab if they're there in the top 2 rounds. These are the guys that we're just going to discuss who kind of have those question marks going into this season. The first one on our group is Doug Martin.
Question marks?
Well, I mean, all these guys have question marks. Let's be real.
That's true.
So let's start with Doug Martin.
Dougie
Fresh. He was my sleeper going into last year, and he balled out. I had some people, even this guy in the podcast that we first recorded, was like, really, Doug Martin? Really? And I was like, yeah, watch, Doug Martin's going to ball out. And he balled out.
Only because I had him his rookie season. And I think it's just the train that I was on with Doug Martin.
Yeah.
I had him the rookie season.
For people who had him the last 3 years.
I'm not gonna lie, I tinkered a little bit, left him on the bench. He went off for 40, 50 points.
65.
Then the next year I drafted him again and he sucked. So
for me, guys, I like Doug Martin going into this year. I think if you can get him in the 4th round, do it. 3rd is a little high for me. I think Mike Evans has a bounce back year. I think James Winston has a better year.
I think if you get him in the 4th round, you got yourself a steal because he's gonna go way.
Yeah,
I
don't think he's going to have as many yards as he did last year. I think he falls a little bit short. I still think he is a top 8. I've got him around 7 or 8 on my list running backs for next year. I think he stays right around that.
Over under 1,100 yards or more.
I think it goes over. I think he gets 1,500 all-purpose yards. I think he only scores like 11 touchdowns. 11 total touchdowns.
That's a good season.
That is a good season.
That's like second, third round worthy.
He had a really great season last year, and I just don't think he has such a productive season as he did last year.
The way I see it is they paid him.
That's what worries me too. Last year he was playing for a contract.
Yeah.
This year he's
playing
in every sport on a contract. So is he going to go with that same tenacity going in, considering he's already been paid? That division has gotten better. He's got to play some really hard teams in that division. I mean, that's no slouch of a division.
And
some hard defenses are in that division, and he's got to go up against them. The Saints got better. The Buccaneers, the Falcons have a defensive-minded coach. Their defense was better last year than it's been in the last 5 years. And the Panthers. Carolina has got one of the best defenses in the league.
Yep.
So can he go forward? I think he had a lot of those big games against Atlanta and New Orleans, and their defenses have gotten better.
Let me add to that because with Doug Martin, and then if we're talking about the division, the coach's playbook, I feel like Lovie Smith is the type of coach who you just look at last year, Charles Sims. He had a couple of good games.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
A couple of good games. And I just feel like if Doug Martin gets hurt or if Doug Martin starts fumbling a lot or just having inconsistent week-to-week games, then Charles Sims is going to be there and Lovie Smith is not going to be afraid
to cut into his carries. Yeah, I definitely
turn into a committee.
Yeah.
Stay away from committees. I do think I'm higher on Doug Martin than you are. 4th round, I think he's going to be gone. Depends on the structure of your league.
It does. He'll probably go in the 2nd or 3rd round. Let's be honest, guys. He's probably going to go late 2nd, early 3rd round. That's kind of where I realistically have him going. For me, I don't think I'm willing to spend that kind of pick, but it also depends who I took in the earlier rounds. If I went running back in the 1st round,
definitely not.
Then yeah, I'm not taking Doug Martin that high. I'm going receiver. If you want people to get Antonio Brown, even if you get Antonio Brown in the 1st round, I still don't think I'm taking Le'Veon. I'm not taking Doug Martin in the 2nd. I'm going with another receiver and trying to get maybe a later running back in the third. I mean, I don't like Doug Martin as a second round pick.
I can't say that you won't. You can still have a good team that way, but I just feel like you're the whole point of the running back position, in my opinion, is you have to have an elite back.
But I still
feel
if you
miss out on the top 5 we just discussed, the 4 running backs, and you go wide receiver, you're going to be left with Jonathan Stewart.
No. I think I can still grab like a Mark Ingram. I think I can still. Honestly, I think I'm shooting, guys. Next on my list, I think I'm shooting to get Eddie Lacy in the 4th and 5th round this year.
My boy.
I am shooting
Mr. P90X himself.
Yeah, I'm shooting for Eddie Lacy in the 4th and 5th round. Everybody's sleeping on Eddie Lacy.
And believe
Other
it or
than
not,
Packer fans, they're the only ones that might reach for him. But I think he's going to have a bounce back here.
I've been reading a lot about Eddie Lacy, making sure he hasn't been eating too much. And
I don't think it's the eating necessarily.
It's his diet.
I think it's going to be the coaches, his work ethic, and the trainer's job to just maintain what he's doing. I mean, the guy is working really hard right now to get back into shape, but during the season, the stresses of being a professional football player, you're going to restaurants, you're going out, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're eating at hotels and things like that. It's hard to stay healthy during those seasons, and Eddie Lacy's a big guy.
Well,
he's not built small, he's not full of muscle. Like, he's a big dude. He was a big dude in college when he ran in Alabama. He's a big dude in the first season. Like, I don't want to see.
He's playing for a contract this year.
He is, and I don't want to see Eddie Lacy lose too much weight. I want him to still have that ground and pound style of play. But I think that Eddie Lacy's gonna have a bounce back season. I can see him easily getting 1,500 all-purpose yards, and honestly, I can see Eddie Lacy this year scoring 15 touchdowns. He's
down on a lot of people. A lot of people are down on Eddie Lacy because of last year.
Mm-hmm.
James Starks was getting. I mean, McCarthy was just kind of putting him in a doghouse almost.
Yeah, he was, and honestly, I don't agree with the way Mike McCarthy handled the situation from the beginning. You saw you had a problem with Eddie Lacy's weight, and you didn't act on it. You let it happen.
What
let it
pissed me
get
off
worse
so much
and worse
about
and
Mike
worse.
McCarthy, just adding on what you said, is he kind of played with his confidence.
Absolutely.
He did this whole thing like, you know what? Next year we're gonna give Starks the first.
And we all know that James Starks is not a starting running back in the NFL.
Handcuff maybe.
Yeah, handcuff. Change of pace back. But
if you get Eddie Lacy at the top of the 3rd, I think you got yourself a very good pick.